Real ass bitch, give a fuck about it. Ooh, hold up. We actually do care. Let's rewind. Damn city girls, like they be fucking me up because, I actually care about my, black men especially. Like I care about y'all. You know what I'm saying? But they really got us with this catchy ass taglines, that you just can't help but sing. But I promise you, I don't feel that way. Shit, the girls who singing this don't feel that way because ain't they married? Like, let's talk about that. Or in the process of getting married. I think one is married. The other one's like in process of getting married. But come on, somebody gotta, put the, unblur the lines. Like, something ain't adding up. You know what else doesn't add up? Did you know that the U.S. has 73 million children? Right? That's a lot of kids. Damn. But out of 73 million of them, 18.58 million children are living in a single parent home. More like in depth, we have 15.3 million children in a single mother home. And then we have 3.27 million children in a single father home. Like, you know what I'm saying? But still, that's a lot of kids because, like, that's like saying, only 54% roughly, a little over 54%. No, not 54%, 54 million. Look at me. I can't even talk. See? But that's like literally like, it brings it into perspective that like 54 million children or a little above 54 million have both parents in their life. Like that's scary. That number is way too big and it makes you wonder like, I don't know. It's looking like there's definitely some type of system put in place. You know what I'm saying? Now let's talk about that system. Man, I make it look easy. Trap it out like I don't see no legacy in me. Hit a nigga with a 3-piece. Trap is only thing I know. Gotta go and get the dough. Now, we really think that, right? Western civilization and the Society of Western Civilization, which is the United States of America, the slavery, we think that that was like the most catastrophic thing that happened to the black community and civilization as a whole, when we really have to understand there's been some things going on with trying to destruct the black civilization as it stands for a very long time. So like to show what I'm talking about, there's this book called The Destruction of Black Civilization, and it's actually great issues of race from 4500 BC all the way to 2000 AD. So for those of you guys who actually like history, this is what you might want to read up on. I got it on Amazon. I can actually provide the link for my referrals of books that I actually read myself, and that's what led me to even talk about these uncomfortable conversations because it's very much necessary to have. But the one that I really want to emphasize on, because I understand that we have this one from like, way, way centuries back. Then we have, the United States story of the slavery that happened in the Western civilization, which is, where we are plotted as far as land goes. And then, and please excuse me because a lot of this may just be coming to, my head for a lack of a better term. Disclaimer, I am not polished and I don't plan to be, and I'm just trying to give it to you as it goes in my mind of how it processes for me. And because I think very differently than a lot of people, and like I said before, I'm just trying to give it to you straight. It's a perspective. It's kind of plant a seed in your mind to make you go, and do your own research. And because I'm always going to promote doing your own research so you can really educate yourself, because a lot of things wasn't told to us for a reason. Because shit, if we really know a lot of the nitty gritty, we gonna want to flip this damn table, and I'm not gonna flip my table because I position everything nicely. But so we want to talk about the 1960s. So the 1960s, matter of fact, before I even get into the 1960s, let's talk about the reality of how the trajectory of our civilization went. So nuclear families is going to be a heavy topic that we will be referring to a lot of times, because in all reality, when the need of the economy changed, the need of the nuclear family changed. So when we talk about slavery times and everything like that, that is when the economy of the United States actually needed agriculture, right? So we had to work together as a team in the fields. So we still needed each other. Therefore, we were still heavily married, because we get a lot of people who always refer to that part. Oh, well, we were very much married during slavery time, and it didn't change too much after that. It was like, once women started going through the liberation and feminist movement, blah, 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 blah. Okay, let's actually put this sequence into place to understand the timeline. So that was, when the economy was heavily focused on agriculture, right? Now, let's go to the next shift. When the need of the economy changed over to industrial, remember, at that time, women still did not have rights to work. So, what they did was they had the men in the workforce, but they had the women at home taking care of the home and the children, right? We still needed each other. So, we were still pretty married. It was very, I believe, in like the early 1900s, into, I believe, about the 1950s and 60s, you only had a whopping 8% of women having children out of wedlock. The number started increasing after the 1960s, especially because the 1960s was a very volatile time in the United States history. And that brings me to this lovely book right here. You've heard about it maybe through, certain podcasters referring over to it, but it's the Moynihan report. So the Moynihan report was actually given to President Lyndon B. Johnson in 1965. And Lyndon B. Johnson is the president who came in after Kennedy was assassinated. And what this report was, actually, President Johnson is who put Daniel Moynihan in charge of the analysis of, the welfare system, as to see what's going on and so on and so forth, and see the trajectory of where the direction is going in the United States due to the welfare system put in place. Because the welfare system was put as a subsidiary even at that time, but a lot of it was because of the fact that if there was like a crash going on with the economy in the United States, and it put people in general on unemployment, you were also able to obtain welfare to help offset the cost of living at that time. And with the Moynihan report, it basically was showing where we are at that time and where we were headed based on the analysis that he, put into this report, so that people can, people, by people, I mean the government, could understand where we more than likely would be headed if we stay where we was at that time without doing anything about what was going on. So Moynihan was really adamant about integrating Black America fully, but instead, in 1965, the president went ahead and pushed more for the Hart-Celler Bill of 1965. And what the Hart-Celler Bill was about was basically allowing millions of foreigners to integrate into America. It was really set up to displace Black America. You know what I mean? Like, we talk about even the Black Wall Street, all these different events that's happened. And this is actually a perfect time, because here we are in freaking Black History Month. Like, how perfect is this? Like, it just, light bulb. This is how my brain works. I'm telling you guys, attention span of a dog. But it's like squirrel. You know what I mean? But so it allowed millions of foreigners, mostly from the Middle Eastern countries, to settle into America and everything like that, migrate into America. But the intentions behind it, because intentions is everything, it was to really displace the Black Americans. So the Kerner Report in 1968 also elaborated on this as well. And then we get into and I'm only going to point out certain key points so that you guys could go back and do your own research on it as well, because I believe about 1972 is when they legalized abortions. And if we really want to get technical, when we talk about what kills most Black Americans, abortions is ranked as number one. That's a sad reality based on data and statistics that's available to us to go research ourselves. And I'm always going to encourage you to do that, because you can't take my word for law. You know what I'm saying? I ain't nobody to be sitting there like, my word is law. Not crazy, I promise. So in this report, the highlight of it is the Moynihan scissors. So as I said before, unemployment, in welfare was working hand in hand. So when unemployment went down, welfare was supposed to go down as well. But instead, we had Moynihan actually pointed out, like, whoa, hold on, we got a scissor effect. Whereas instead of unemployment going down and welfare going down, we have unemployment with black males going down, and the welfare with black women going up. Because in order to really receive welfare at that time, you had to be a woman, I believe. Don't quote me on that, actually. Whoops. Anyways, but the point of the matter is that the welfare went up as the black unemployment went down. So when you hear people always say, well, black women went ahead and traded their black men for welfare or government assistance, this is really what they're talking about here. And I suggest you really go get yourself a copy and really dive into it, especially if you're really interested in understanding how the hell did we get to this damn place. It was like, there's a method to the madness, right? We have to always keep that in mind. So the problem, according to the report, is there's 300, well, I believe at that time it was 300, but it could be well over that. We're just going to go with like an approximity. So approximately 300 years of injustice have been brought about deep-seated structural distortions in the life of Black America. Now, there's the tangle of pathology, which was discussed in a presentation at the Albany Cultural Rights Institute by Dr. Veronica Adams Cooper. And she talks about the tangle of pathology and how it was capable of perpetuating itself without assistance from the white world. And that is basically what Moynihan was emphasizing in this report. The cycle can be broken, because that he did say, whenever there's a problem, there's always got to be a solution, right? The cycle can be broken only if the distortions are set right. What is the distortions? When we talk about the tangle of pathology, now pathology is a medical term for a medical condition. So if we kind of break that down, it goes the tangle, of a medical condition. What is the medical condition within the Black community? Distress. So we have the distress of, the emotional distress, we have the psychological distress, we have the physical distress, and the spiritual distress. Because, we have to understand it's about polarity and duality. So we have to put all things into perspective and take all the concepts in to understand how the hell did we get here? What is really tearing us apart? What is really bringing us to this place, right? Now, when we talk about what were the events of distress, we have slavery, the reconstruction of the Black community over and over, hence like the Black Wall Street, because technically if we want to talk about the Black Wall Street, when it was bombed, we actually did rebuild it within a year after the initial bombing. And what actually broke the Black Wall Street completely down was the integration or like gentrification. But that's a different story for a different time. But we have the urbanization that was also a factor into our distress. And the urbanization also goes into redlining because, I used to work in the bank and I actually did a lot of college courses with understanding the Federal Reserve and everything like that. And one of the things that is actually really true is redlining. That is something that they did to kind of sector us into a specific part of the community. So that's why we have, a lot of Black advocates within our community pushing for, equality when it comes to education, police force, all that other stuff. That's where it comes down to, because the reality is, we come from different lives. We come from different, parts. That's why we even have, matter of fact, that's a different conversation. There's a lot to unpack. It's onions, layers and upon layers like an onion. And shit, it might even make you cry. But, we're here to really talk about these uncomfortable conversations because the point is we're trying to know better so we can do better. We got to slay this perspective, you know what I'm saying? Because we don't want to get played. We want to get slayed. Stay with me. And also we have to understand how unemployment, took a toll on us, because think about it, right? If you're such a workaholic and then you're told, you're laid off, whether it's voluntary or involuntary layoff, furloughed, all those things, it really does take a toll on you mentally, because you could be living a certain specific kind of way. And then when your finances are, kind of like putting into an abrupt moment, it's going to take a toll on your mental. Like, look what the fuck just happened to us with the pandemic. People going, nuts at home. It's because we're used to working. We're used to doing things and keeping busy. And then we had to stay home. Shit. I know a lot of motherfuckers is mad because shit. Matter of fact, we're just not even going to get into that. And then we also have to talk about the wage system. So, when we talk about the Constitution, a lot of people like to bring up, Black people were, considered 3/5 of a person. And then, so if we have like, the view of the surface level not to be equal, you think the wage system is going to be equal? Like, come on. Then we also had like the education part of, in order to get good money at that time, college. A lot of us wasn't getting college going because of, financial reasons and, a lot of other things. But we have to understand all this puts into play. But that is a different conversation for a different time. We're trying to keep the focus here on basically, there's a 1973 special report. That's what it was. So in 1973, I think it's CBS. I could be wrong, but I will make sure that everything I'm talking about, I'm putting links into our description so that you guys could go click over on the actual documentaries and you can see what the hell I be watching. Because I promise you, I'm not always just doing here. I'm not always behind the chair. My black ass be sitting there and I be just researching. My book collection is insane. I like reading. I'm a little nerd. I'm proud of it too. I do wear glasses a lot of times, so I ain't gonna wear it with the camera because I don't want the glare and I want you guys to see me. You know what I'm saying? Because we in this together. You know what I'm saying? So in 1973, there's a specials report that was had, and it was regarding the Perry Holmes project. Now, where the hell it was located, I kind of forgot. Like I said, I'm gonna leave the link so you guys could go look, and maybe you guys could catch where it is, and you guys can, comment below and let me know where it was. We're in this together, right? Teamwork made the dream work. We still on board? Cool. And I just want to put into perspective the reason why I'm bringing this up is because the Perry Holmes projects was basically like it heavily relied on the welfare system. It kind of put into play what the Moynihan report was like, discussing of the trajectory of where we were headed based on where we was at that time. And so technically, if we want to look at it, it's about 8 years later. They're looking at it to see, okay, so let's see the after effects of it, right? So we're talking about the welfare and the fatherless home. And because in order for you to live within these project-like communities or, homes, you could not have the man in the home if you were receiving welfare. And 85% of the head of household were women in that space in that time. Now, when we look at, now this is my perspective of it, right? When we look at the welfare system, we know that, the Western civilization of the United States has always been like a almost like a social studies project. Like I would say like it's an investigation and surveillance. If we look at, because how do you come with scientific data and statistics? It's really through investigation and surveillance.
My favorite Jay-Z.
So
Jay-Z had a line that said, "You know why they call a project a project? Because it's a project, an experiment, and we're
there we go. There we go. See, that's what I'm saying. So it's like an investigation and surveillance on us because it's really them trying to project where we are headed and where we are and develop these data and statistics. Because not for nothing, and this is my own personal theory, when those census people come around, what black person's really opening up the door? We don't even want to open the door because we don't want a chance that it's Jehovah's Witness coming to our door talking about, do you want to believe in Jesus? So like, a lot of us have to realize that we got to take a step back and look at it. Like, where are they getting this data and statistics? Because a lot of it, seems like inflated in the sense of we may directly know, okay, only, 2 people out of my family fit this stereotype. The rest of us don't, align with that. I don't really align with a lot of the women that men complain about because shit, those ain't my friends, but that's also not how I conduct myself. So we have to understand, where the hell do they get this? Because I ain't answering, the census half of the time. And if we do answer it, we're not going to sit there and, tell them every fucking detail because the reality is we're paranoid. Like, what you want to know all this information for? Try to ask your mom a question. She gonna be like, what you want to know that for? What you up to? Like, you know what I'm saying? What do you want? So, like, come on. That's my own perspective. Call me crazy. I don't give a fuck. But anyways, so when we go into the understanding of, like, the welfare system and we look at the perspective of it being a social experiment, to see how it goes. And it was really predominantly affecting the black community because, as I said, the freaking system was created to replace the men. If you want to get technical in regards to the amount of money, how do they even come up with this number based on the number of your household? And this is the amount of money that you're going to receive from them annually. If you actually look at the dollar amount based on the number of the household, based on a black man's salary, it kind of matches up. Just saying. Don't shoot the messenger. Just think about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, Just think about it. It's like a moment. You know what I mean? Remember that moment. We're gonna do a lot of that. Now, when we talk about the single mom homes or the matriarchy led homes and the head of households being women, they like to say, okay, well, the youth that come from these homes, they're usually troubled and delinquent. Which, what the hell? Like, damn, that's kind of harsh. Why would you even say that, right? When we when we really think about it, and we think about as a ex welfare recipient, okay, this is where my credibility comes in because shit, I was there too. I'm with you on this. We have to think about it, right? So even if we receive this help per se, we have to look at the fine line because remember, there's always a catch. Nothing's free, right? So we have to do work programs, some type of schooling and studying, and then we have to actually make X amount of hours to offset the cost of living because shit, inflation is real and it usually goes up 3% per year or something like that. And so when we think about that, welfare was never designed for mothers to actually really be mothers. And when I say that, y'all don't come for me. I am a mom, remember. I'm talking about, anecdotal experiences with a hint of, come on, let's think about this. We think about the fact that if we're working, right, we have to bring our kids to a daycare or they have to go to school. If the daycare or the school is out before the time you get out of work, or if you have to pull in overtime to kind of make ends meet because maybe you still want to buy something or you want to do something for your kids at a different point, regardless of the reality comes to, we are not in the home just as much almost. Well, not exactly as much, but close enough that shoot, the men ain't there, the moms ain't there because they're working. So who the fuck is really with these kids? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, come on, think about it. It's like a moment. Like, so the system was really designed to tear our families in many aspects. Like, you know what I'm saying? And the daycares were really set up to free the mothers. But what are we freeing the mothers for, right? So if we think about times of war, right, that's what the daycare system, if we look at the history of daycares, it was designed for crash programs in times of war. So if we needed to free up the mothers to kind of go into the labors, because I believe even in the industrial phase, so remember the men were at the workspace, the women were home with the children, and when that shifted, because either the men were getting drafted to go to war, who the hell was taking the men's job at that point? The factories were being filled with women. You know what I'm saying? But how the hell are we gonna take care of these kids if we're usually at home with the kids? Put their ass in daycare. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's figure out how these all kind of intermingle. Now, the daycare system in present day, it literally was the answer to the crisis of the welfare emergency. Think about that. Just think about it. Remember, I'm gonna leave the link below so you guys can watch this documentary in your free time to figure kind of out for yourself. Like, you know what I'm saying? Now, we have improvised facilities for the middle class. So for those of us who have received welfare or on welfare or whatever, point of the matter is if you have the experience with welfare, then you know that when you're trying to break free from welfare, you come to a really, really tough time in your life, because once you make not even a dollar more than what they say that you can, but a penny more, they're ready to cut your ass off. But welfare, when it comes down to the child care, that shit is expensive. You know what I'm saying? Especially when you got 1 or 2 kids, or you shit, even more than that. So they had improvised facilities for, middle class women. But the child development, of the structure with the daycares, it really took a toll on these kids psychologically, because they wasn't really being able to be catered to. Because then when you think about it, why a lot of kids are deemed to have behavioral issues or IEPs and stuff, because in the school systems you have one teacher or one assistant teacher with the teacher, but you have a magnitude of kids. So not everybody's getting that one-on-one emotional bonding that children really need. And that is what our role as mothers is supposed to be, to instill the emotional intelligence in the child. So middle class is considered the working poor, as they call it. The reason being is because we're not in complete poverty, but we're also not completely wealthy. We're like in that fine line. We're trying to skate, you know what I'm saying? Jig and jive. But now when we talk about the Perry Homes Project, we also got to take into place the 1986 special report, which was the vanishing of the black family. So this is a very famous clip that's actually going around. We will go ahead and leave that link also in the description. And it basically talks about, how Three out of four children had both parents before the 1960s, I believe. But now, at that at that point of this special report, we was at 60%, of children being born out of wedlock, and then the lack of traditional families really started going on the incline. You know what I mean? The values wasn't there like it used to be before the 1950s, especially, and we have to ask ourselves those questions of who's pouring into these children, right? Like, it's a constant repeat of cycles when we think about it, because not for nothing, if we're talking about the women who were becoming mothers at that time, that puts us with Generation X, which is included like my mom's generation, because my mom was born in 1968. She came to America in 1976, and she was 8 when she came, so she was still like able enough to really get into the groove of what society was like, and impressionable enough to understand how the modern way of thinking was put into, the hamster wheel went. You know what I'm saying? Now, those women in that video clip, they talk about how, they don't have the desire of marriage. I believe all but one woman actually wanted to marry their baby daddy. We're going to say baby daddy because now, and also in that documentary, or that special report, they talk about how some of the men didn't even care to be in the child's life because shit, they wasn't ready to be fathers, which that is a very huge epidemic that was going on during that time period as well. And that's something that we can't, not look at. We got to look at both sides of it. You know what I'm saying? Because the reality is, in modern day, like present day, we have deadbeat mothers and deadbeat fathers. It's not just one is, it's just one is talked about more than the other, but they're both there. So there's always polarity, yin and yang. And we also need to talk about, like, the social dynamic and dialogues that's being held, and when we talk about the cycles, we're talking about one of the women that was, like, heavily presented in that documentary or the special report. Her mom was a single mother and her grandmother was a single mother. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, well, damn, the cycle just kept going, because even me myself, I like I told you guys before, I grew up in a single mother home. So when I'm seeing my mom do it, shit, my mom she was pulling rabbits out of hats. When she was making things as a kid, like, I'm sitting there like, wow, like, seems all right. And I saw that, she was happy, she was living her best life. So for me, I thought that, hey, that's normal. That must be cool. So, growing up with that type of modeling, the mindset of, I don't need no man, I could do it all myself, so on and so forth, real ass bitch, give a fuck about it. So, when you're growing up with that as kids, you're thinking that that's the norm. But then when you come and hit a roadblock, or you have a aha moment like I did, you realize that you have to actually unlearn to relearn new things, because nuclear families is really where it's at. We want both kids to have both parents, in their lives, but we want two healthy parents. And when we're talking about Black history, we have to talk about all of the traumas and that's embedded in our DNA. That's a real thing. You know what I'm saying? The paranoia, the things that's taught to us, the survival mode that is instilled in us. We have to talk about how all those things actually come into play with affecting us as parents, because we're not able to give our child everything that they can want or really need morally, because we're not there for ourselves neither. And that's the point that I really want to bring the emphasis of today's topic of discussion. And remember, hit up Slay Your Perspective on IG and talk to me. Let me know what points am I missing, what you really want to elaborate on, because I myself had to do the work. I had to come into my journey to understand that I needed my kids to do better than I have. But in order for me to do better, for them to do better, I had to do better for myself, and I had to be their standard. Because at the end of the day, I am the standard for my son of what to look for in a woman. There's actually a Lupe Fiasco song. It's called "Bitch Bad," right? Yes, I believe it came out in 2012. But watch that video. I'll leave that link too. You know what I'm saying, Lupe? You my guy for many reasons. But we have to understand that for our sons, we are literally the standard of what a woman is, or whether it's a good or bad. So I be telling my clients, people only ask you who did your hair for two reasons: either they want to go or they don't want to go. You know what I'm saying? That's the reality of it. So when we're displaying ourselves or conducting ourselves in a such manner, our sons are looking at us as either that's the woman that I want for myself as I get older, or that's a woman I want to stay away from. I don't want nothing like my mom. You know what I mean? Just like a lot of us girls, we grow up, I want to be just like my mom. I don't want to be shit like my mom. Like, you know what I'm saying? That is really how it works. And when we talk about dads, they say a mother is a son's first love, and then, in the sense of like, that bonding and how to relationship, how to conflict, because that's very important to learn very early on so we can have healthy relationships with people, even friends, because shit, that's a different conversation for a different time, but we gonna cover that. And for our dads, father is a daughter's first love. So a father sets the standard of the type of man that, a daughter would either want or stay away from. You know what I mean? And for a mother, the standard on the daughter is, like I said, we set the bar to show our daughters this is how you conduct yourself in this world that we live in. You know what I mean? Whether it's good or bad. Watch that video by Lupe Fiasco. He literally, he put it perfect. Like, it, just watch it. Okay? That's your homework for today. Watch those damn things I put on the damn description. That's your homework, okay? We gonna do homework together. You know what I'm saying? Because when we know better, we do better. You know what I'm saying? We together? Teamwork make the dream work? All right, cool. So, thank you guys. I just want to know what is it that you guys want, like, any points that I missed that you guys want to further elaborate on. Make sure you guys slide over to DM on Instagram at Say Your Perspective. Comment below, especially the city for the Perry Home projects. I really forgot that. Remember, the attention span of a dog. Bear with me, you know what I'm saying? But make sure you, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Make sure you send it to, your family's family, your friends, or your baby daddy's cousin that's over there. You know what I'm saying? Make sure you send it to everyone because we really are going to dive in. This is just like a quick understanding of what I'm here for with my content because I really want to see progress. Now, if you're one of those detractors that think I'm absolutely batshit crazy, that is cool. I'm not here for you. I'm here for those who want to pick up what I'm putting down. For those who really want to know better to do better. And for those who really want to see better results with their life. Because, shoot, like I said, I was on welfare. I have 2 kids. They come from different fathers. And I made a shit ton of mistakes in my life. I've been in a lot of predicaments that really sucked ass. But where I am now it's totally different. You know what I mean? And if I can do it, you can do it because I believe in you, because I believed in myself. And that's just where we're at with it. Thank you guys for tuning in. I love you. We are here together. What should be our name? Like, we're Slayers? Like, no. Sippers and Slayers. How are we? That is who we are. We are a team. Because I'm here for supporters. I'm not here for followers. I don't care about, the algorithm of things. I care about having people support the vision of unity, nuclear families, peace, love, and happiness, because that is the highest vibrations. We ain't here for that fear mongering. We ain't here for that survival mode tactics of, that's all low vibrational energy. We ain't got time for that. We trying to be on the up and up. You know what I'm saying? When it's up, you know what I'm saying?